Twisted Wonderland is a game where you get into a college which is made up of dorms based on Disney villains. As a childhood Disney enthusiast and now anime enthusiast who also likes fandoms like Obey Me, getting to know more about this game was a lot of fun. I love getting to know the dorms and what they stand for. It reminded me a bit of Hogwarts with Harry Potter houses, and then getting to know the characters, something I love doing for all kinds of fandoms, was a lot of fun as well. In today's video I'll show you the process of drawing all Twisted Wonderland dorm members, and here's how I'll talk about each character. I'll first mention who they are, and finally I rank each character once based on their design or looks and once based on their personality. In Twisted Wonderland the characters are students from different dorms, so I'll mention these as well when I've talked about all students from one dorm. We start with the first character, which would be Riddle from the dorm Hartslabule, which is based around the Alice in Wonderland story. Riddle is the house warden of Hartslabule. Similarly to the evil queen in the Alice in Wonderland story, he is very strict with rules, he is ambitious and disciplined. Design-wise, I don't like his smaller body as much as for most other characters. He looks pretty young. I'd put him in the C tier. And just to get this out of the way right at the start, even if I'm putting characters into the C tier, it means I still like them. I just don't like them as much as some of the other characters in comparison. Personality-wise, I on one hand understand Riddle's strictness and I admire his dedication and ambition. On the other hand, it's pretty extreme, so here I put him in the B tier. The next character I'll talk about is Ace. He's a mischievous, energetic, outgoing person who likes to make jokes. He does remind me of a lot of other characters such as Hinata from Haikyuu or Subaru from Ensemble Stars. Design-wise, I think he is alright. I don't particularly like his hairstyle, hair color or eye color, but he looks nice. I'd put him in the B tier. Personality-wise, I don't relate to him that much. Overall, I'd put him in the B tier here as well. Next is Deuce, who is a bit more introverted than Ace, but despite seeming rather academic at first, he has a more rebellious side and past. He is not the calm, quiet character like Kageyama is to Hinata from Haikyuu or Hokuto to Subaru in Ensemble Stars. But overall the dynamic is a bit similar, so I'd also include those characters as characters Deuce would remind me of. For ranking him design-wise, I'd put him in the B tier, and personality-wise in the A tier, I can relate to him a bit more. After Deuce we move on to Trey, a rather calm, logical character that is also good at baking. I don't like his shorter hair and the dark green color of it too much. He goes into the C tier design-wise. Personality-wise he is alright, but a bit plain compared to the other characters. To me here I'll put him in the B tier. The last Hartslabule character I'll talk about is Keita, a very extroverted fun person who lives in the moment. I would describe him as trendy. He also is active on social media and has this custom phone, for example. Design-wise, I don't like his hairstyle too much, so I'll put him in the C tier. However, I really like him personality-wise, so here he would be in the S tier. Now let's finish up with the first dorm by talking a bit about what outfits I drew here. I drew the Twisted Wonderland characters once with the school uniform, only the arm accessoire with the dorm's emblem varied for the dorms here and in their dorm uniforms. What I found interesting here is how the different members can wear their uniforms differently. It's interesting to think about how one outfit can be drawn in different ways depending on how the character would wear it. More outgoing, expressive characters can have their clothes more open, less buttoned up, whereas it may be the opposite for more reserved, serious characters. Another thing that varies here would be the gloves. White, black, none or partly open ones. All of these were included at different times here. And lastly, I'll also rank each house, and this will be based on how much I like the theme, aesthetic and story, as well as the fairy tale it's based around. Technically, I could make a separate tier list for these aspects as well, but to simplify it, I'll combine all of this into one tier list. If you'd be interested in more separate Twisted Wonderland tier lists, whether it's ranking the characters or the dorms, let me know. Back to my ranking. Hartslabule is based on the story of Alice in Wonderland, and you can for example see this in the fact that Ace, Deuce, Trey and Keita represent different playing card symbols. Additionally, rules play a big role in this house. While I do connect a bit to the whole rule theme, since I like rules to simplify some things in life, I wouldn't be as strict as Riddle is with them. I don't enjoy the theme and aesthetic as much as for some other dorms, so I'd put the dorm in the B tier. After Hartslabule we move on to Savannah Claw. Starting with the house warden Leona. He is rather lazy and likes to order others to do things for him. Other than this, he is laid back and calm. He is also partly lion. The students of Savannah Claw tend to have animalistic features. Design-wise, I don't like these features on characters that much. Something I do like for his design would be his hairstyle. I'd put him in the C tier. Personality-wise, I find Leona is okay, but not too interesting. I put him in the C tier. Next is Ruggy, the person Leona likes to order around. He is part hyena, more energetic than Leona and overall mischievous. He looks out for himself and Leona mostly. I like Roggy's hairstyle a lot. I put him in the A tier for the design. As for his personality, I like how open and honest he tends to be. I'll put him in the S tier. Now for Jack, who is partly wolfhound. He is rather calm and a bit intimidating, but he also looks out for others. He can seem a bit naive. I don't like his hair and design that much. He goes into the C tier. Personality-wise, I would put him in the C tier. I do like his caring side, but he is rather plain other than this. Now I'll talk a bit about some shortcuts I took to draw the characters here more quickly. As I have a lot of ideas and things I would like to draw, I like to look more into this with each project I do. For one, I only added the hands at the end and used a lot of poses from a hand study document where I have drawn a lot of hands. Additionally, I copied and pasted dorm uniform outfit parts to be able to draw some of the outfits more quickly. I also drew more detailed patterns and symbols straight on, often using the symmetrical ruler tool, and only transformed and liquefied these to align with the character's pose in the end. The house Savannah Claw is based on the story of Lion King. You can also see this from the fact that the students have animalistic features, Leona being based on a lion, Ruggy a hyena, and Jack a wolfhound. A theme for this dorm would be pride, which you can see in Leona not wanting to do tasks and ordering Ruggy around instead, for example. Theme-wise, I find this alright. Other than this, I don't like the whole desert aesthetic too much. I'd put Savannah Claw into the C tier. The third house is Octavinelle. We're starting with the house ward Azul. Azul is a calculating, ambitious, profit-focused person. He likes to make contracts with the people he comes across. Design-wise, I like him a lot. Also, he reminds me of the fairy mother from the Shrek movies for some reason. But besides of that, I like his hairstyle, the purpley colors in his outfit, his eye color. Overall, he goes into the S tier. Personality-wise, I also like how much he strategizes and how focused he is on profits. This would be S tier as well. Next is Floyd. He is a kind of crazy, very outgoing and expressive person. He can be reckless and funny. Also, he has heterochromia, his right eye being darker than his left one. And with this, let's move on to rating his design. This would be a B tier for me. I don't like his sharp teeth. His hairstyle is alright. Other than this, I like him. Personality-wise, he is definitely interesting. A bit too crazy at times, but also fun. This will be a B tier for me. And as a third student, we have Jade, twin brother of Floyd. He's much calmer and more polite compared to Floyd. He has more of a mysterious and laid-back vibe. Design-wise, he is similar to Floyd, but his eyes are more upturned and his hairstyle is basically mirrored. I like this slightly more than for Floyd, and I'll put him in the A tier here. Personality-wise, I also like him a lot. He can be pretty calming, and I would put him into the S tier here. That's it for Octavinelle's students. Now let's talk about the elements I added. Around the characters, I added various elements, 3 for each version. For the school uniform, this would be this coffin shape with a pattern fitting to each student, which I saw on some of the characters' cards, as well as their favorite food, according to the Twisted Wonderland wiki, a resource I used a lot. Then we'd have a symbol of the club the character would be in. Here I was able to reuse some of the symbols and recolor them, fitting to the different houses, as the colors here would change depending on the house, while the symbols would be the same. For the dorm uniform, I then drew in 3 symbols fitting to the character, which would include their interests, hobbies, or other elements that fit to them. Octavinelle is based on the Disney movie Ariel. Fitting to this, Azul is based on an octopus, while Floyd and Jade are based on eels. The whole theme of this dorm would be based on contracts and having power over others through them. I find this more manipulative theme interesting. While I don't connect to the underwater aesthetic too much, I do like the purpley colors of the dorm. I would put it into the A tier. Let's move on to the fourth dorm, which would be Scarabia. The house warden here is Callum. He's a fun-loving, outgoing person and very welcoming towards others. He can be carefree and naive at times. Design-wise, I don't like the short white hair he has that much. I personally prefer longer bangs like Azul had, for example. I would put him into the B tier. Callum's outgoing personality is nice to me. It can be overbearing, but I like how free-spirited and wholesome he is. I put him in the A tier. Next is Jamil. He's smart and a lot calmer than Callum. You could kinda see them as sun for Callum and moon for Jamil. He's also more pessimistic, or at least skeptical, for example. Design-wise, I like his longer hair. I don't like warm tones for Scarabia or Savannah Claw before, for example, as much as for Octavinelle with the cooler colors in general. This also influences my design ratings. Here I put Jamil into the A tier. Personality-wise, he is okay to me. I like that. He can be very realistic, but he could also be more honest to me. I put him in the B tier. Next, I would like to do a mini style analysis of the Twisted Wonderland style. For this, I looked at the character sprites as well as the cards on the wiki. I'm just mentioning things that particularly stood out to me, since usually my full art style analysis could be a full video on its own. I'll start by talking a bit about the sprites. Here the saturated borders for shadow outlines or lighting, fitting to the characters, DOM color-wise, stand out to me. Lighting lines make parts look shiny and they help to separate parts and make them look like they have more depth. A smooth shading feel is achieved through mainly selected shapes that are at times erased or blended. Next, for the cards, one thing is the nose shading. What's common here is for the nose to be shaded, while the part behind it is in light, kinda outlining the nose. This would be the case for the more regular lighting scenarios when it's brightly lit and when the character looks to the side. For frontal looking faces, the nose is shaded on one side and lit on the other one as well. The lips and mouth tends to be defined by a shadow underneath, and at times the lips are shaded. Shading wise, you again have a rather smooth look caused by the shapes. At times gradients can be added here as well. The lighting outlines I mentioned for the sprites are common here as well. Scarabia is based on the story of Aladdin. As themes you have royalty, jealousy, controlling others, and betrayal. As mentioned before, I don't like the desert aesthetic that much, not as much as the underwater one, but here I prefer Scarabia over Savannah Claw. I would put the DOM in B tier. The fifth DOM I'll talk about will be Pomefiore. Will is the house warden and the first person I'll talk about here. He is very focused on beauty and appearance. He's a model and actor, even having his own makeup collection. He's ambitious and disciplined. Design-wise, I don't like the dark purple of the DOM uniform that much. I prefer more pastel colors like for Octavinel. Other than this, his hairstyle isn't one I like too much, but I do like the colors of it, and this may sound a bit weird, but to me his face kind of looks too big for his hair. I'll put Will in the B tier here. Personality-wise, Will is fine, but not too interesting to me. He can be a bit arrogant, but I also admire his dedication. I'll put him in the B tier. Next would be Appel. Appel is honest and can be impulsive or emotional in general at times. He can seem really careful on one hand, but also be very direct or get upset on the other hand. Design-wise, I really like his hairstyle and hair color. It's really pretty. However, I don't like the young-looking proportions he has and bigger eyes compared to the other characters. I would put him in the A tier. Personality-wise, he can be really nice, but also a bit too emotional to me at times. I would put him in the B tier. The third member in Pomefiore's DOM I will talk about is Rook. Rook is a very expressive and art-loving person. He tends to speak a bit poetically and often is fascinated by things around him. Design-wise, I don't like his hairstyle, and overall look with the hat, I would put him into the C tier here. While he is entertaining, I don't like his over-the-top personality too much. This would be a C tier for me. Next, I'll talk a bit about Disney and fairy tale parodies in general, since Twisted Wonderland is one of these types of fandoms. A while back, before I even got really into watching anime, I watched Disney Descendants. I liked those movies and especially the costumes and songs in them a lot. I also watched Ever After High, which is based on more different fairy tales, including some of the ones for the different houses mentioned in this video, and I loved this cartoon and the colorful detailed designs and look of the world as well. It's amazing, and for some reason I would love to see Barbie movies where Barbie takes on the role of the different princesses, maybe because I've been watching Barbie Life in the Dream House recently and my childhood was very filled with Barbie movies. It would fit together nicely. Pomefiore is based on the Disney movie Snow White and the theme of beauty, wanting to appear beautiful and perfect. I don't particularly connect to this a lot. While I do like purple aesthetic-wise, it's also not my favorite because it's a rather dark purple, unlike Octavinel for example. I would put the DOM in the B tier. After Pomefiore, we move on to Ignihide, the sixth DOM. Starting with the house warden, Idir. Idir is a reclusive, often scared and pessimistic person. He doesn't like talking in person or socializing with others. He's very good at programming, playing video games, sketching and even singing. Idir has this really cool blue fiery hair, and I like this as well as his blue lips, for example, a lot. Design-wise, this would be a S tier to me. I love how dramatic and at times weird he can be, and personality-wise I'll put him in the S tier. Next is Ortho, who would be Idir's younger brother. He's very optimistic and more outgoing. He also is friendly and very smart. Ortho is young, which you can also see in his smaller stature and bigger eyes. As mentioned before, for some of the younger looking characters like Riddle or Epil, I don't like this that much. Additionally, Ortho has robotic features and I myself would prefer a more human look for characters. His design is pretty cool still. I would put him in the B tier overall. While Ortho's personality is really nice and friendly, I don't like it as much as for Idir, for example. It's not as interesting. Still, I like it a lot and I'd put Ortho in the A tier overall personality-wise. Those were both characters for Ignihide. Another idea for things I would love to do related to the Disney fairy tales would be designing characters for them. I would love taking the themes and visuals of the different stories and implementing them in my own designs. Finally, as an idea, I wanted to add that even more Twisted Wonderland DOMs based on Mulan, Tangled, Frozen and so on would be amazing. I just thought more about this and it would be really cool. Not every Disney story may have a clear villain, but often you could adapt this for the Disney universe. You could even take other stories like Rise of the Guardians with Jack Frost or The Little Prince and adapt this. I would find the idea of coming up with new DOMs amazing. That's it for some more ideas related to Twisted Wonderland and fandoms. Let me know if you've seen any of the movies or shows I mentioned, if you would like to see me design some fairy tale or Twisted Wonderland related characters, and in general your ideas. I would love to talk more about this. I like Ignihide as a DOM. It's rather mysterious and I connect with its members, being rather closed off and not wanting to connect with others too much. I only watched Hercules for the first time around 3 years ago and not as a child. It's a pretty underrated Disney movie to me and Hades is a really cool Disney villain. I also like Ignihide aesthetic wise, while I overall really like pastel colors. The black and dark blue look nice and I'd put Ignihide in the S tier. The last DOM I'll talk about is Diasomnia, starting with its leader Malleus. Malleus is kind of a demon, which you may be able to tell from his horns. He's also mysterious, a bit intimidating, but also friendly. He often isn't there for the DOM leaders meeting since he also is busy having to take care of things in his world, making him even more mysterious. I love Malleus' hair and he has a pretty face. I'll put him in the S tier here. I like Malleus' personality a lot. He can be rather introverted, but at the same time he's very confident and can be a bit mischievous. I'll put him into the S tier here. Next is Lilia, who is a mischievous, playful and outgoing character who's good at babysitting. Lilia has a smaller stature, and as mentioned before, I don't like this as much as for taller characters. I'm also not that much of a fan of his hairstyle. Overall, I will put him in the C tier here. While I don't connect with Lilia's interest in babysitting, personality-wise, Lilia is fun and I would put him in the A tier. The third member of Diasomnia I'll talk about will be Sebek. He seems like more of a tough guy but can be a bit naive. He would remind me a bit of Raoul from Cupid Parasite or Benkei from Biroshana. Design-wise, I'd put Sebek in the C tier. I don't like his hairstyle that much. I personally don't find the personality he has as interesting as for some other characters. I would put him in the B tier. Lastly, we have Silva, an orphan who grew up with forest animals until a certain babysitter found him and took him and Sebek in. Can you guess who I'm referring to? Silva is a calm and a bit cold character. He can be kind as well with those close to him though, and he has a habit or even illness of falling asleep and being sleepy often. Design-wise, I really like his eye and hair color, which is no surprise since they're similar to my OC Yumari and Jack Frost, who is one of my favorite characters. While his hairstyle isn't my favorite, it's also nice, it kind of fits to him. I would put him in the S tier here as well. I like Silva's personality. While it's a bit more casual compared to Idia, for example, I find it suits him well. I'll put him in the S tier. And the seventh aspect I'll talk about here will be ranking Twisted Wonderland cards. I picked out my favorite 20 cards and put them on this board. Going through all of these to pick out my favorites was fun. It makes me realize what kind of illustrations I tend to like, and I love seeing the composition, poses, outfits and shading in these artworks. Diasomnia is based on the fairy tale Sleeping Beauty, which I have kind of a stronger connection to. As child, my sister, best friend, and I would always kind of say the princess from Snow White is like my best friend, Cinderella like my sister, and Aurora from Sleeping Beauty like me. She was my favorite out of these three as well. Now my favorite Disney princess would be Elsa, mainly because of the ship of Jack Frost and Elsa, Jelsa, of which I have many teenager memories from my teenage years. I watched a lot of YouTube videos for it, but back to Diasomnia, as I said, I like Sleeping Beauty, and the theme for this DOM would be nobility. I find the theme fascinating. The neon green and black colors is something I used to be really into back in my Movie Star Planet days, and while I now am much more fond of cute kawaii purple pastel colors, I still find the color combination nice. I would put the DOM in the A tier here. With that, we've gone through all Twisted Wonderland DOM members. Which DOM sounds most interesting to you? Which of the movies the Disney villains the DOMs are based off on have you watched? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Also, since I like looking at characters' MBTI types when I get into fandoms, I tried guessing the characters' MBTI types here and afterwards compared this to the MBTI types according to the personality database. And since I mentioned Obey Me in the beginning, I also sorted the 7 brothers, which are based on the 7 deadly sins to the dorms here. Then I also sorted the dorms to the 7 deadly sins the Obey Me characters stand for. If you know Obey Me, let me know your thoughts on this. I have stickers of the character illustrations I included in this video on my shop. On there you can find stickers and prints for Obey Me or Genshin Impact characters, for example, as well. Feel free to check it out. If you're interested to see some full screen recorded process videos of my art, you can find this on my Patreon. Other than this, I also share time lapses and full resolution images of my art there. It would mean a lot if you would leave a like and possibly subscribe if you'd like to see more anime art related videos in the future. Thanks a lot for watching, have a nice day, bye.